What's up, Cavs fans? Spencer German, Spencer Davies here with you as we look back on a 114-104 loss for the Cleveland Cavaliers against the Houston Rockets at Rocket Arena, ironically enough. Spence obviously on the scene at Rocket Arena. I'm back on the home front tonight. Excited to be back together later this week with Spence in person. But Spence, obviously a lot to talk about from this game tonight. The Rockets coming in, I thought were going to be just a challenge for this team in general. You know, we were even texting before the game about rebounding was going to be an issue tonight. And I think you saw, I mean, those bigs for Houston are just a massive, massive problem. It's not just like for the Cavs, it's for anybody. But I do think like you saw the type of pressure and things that they provide, the physicality that they provide. And that was an issue for the Cavs tonight. And I think it's one of the biggest reasons why they obviously lost this game. They scored a season low 19 points in the first quarter, a season low 37 points by halftime. And then they rallied a little bit in the third quarter, which we'll talk about some more. But it wasn't enough in the end. This Houston team just kind of proved to be too much, especially with the Cavs obviously dealing with the injuries that they're dealing with.
Yeah, they certainly set the tone. I actually thought the Cavs were playing some really good defense in that latter half of the second quarter, but they just could not make shots. And Kenny even said it in his post-game press conference. I hate to blame this one on missed shots and missed free throws, but that's kind of the story. Shot quality was in the 90th percentile, Kenny said. So they're going to take that every time. They're also going to look at the free throws and think, hey, we left 12 shots, 12 points on the box score, which really hurts. It really hurts. And, you hit 10 of those and it's a tie game. It goes into overtime. It's huge. The culprit, honestly, has been Evan Mobley at the free throw line. He said he hasn't shot this bad since his high school days from the free throw line, and it's something that he's going to have to correct. There's nothing really mechanically that he believes or Kenny Atkinson believes right now is anything up with that. It's just kind of it's a confidence thing. It's a going through a rut thing at the line. But moral of the story, I should say, with the Rockets and the Cavs, yeah, like you said, the size differential was very apparent. I texted you before the game that the Rockets are going to maul the Cavs on the glass. They did exactly that. I asked Kenny about it before the game, and he said, look, there's no way we're going to keep them off the glass, so we just have to stick to our strengths, stick to our identity. And I thought the Cavs actually did a pretty dang good job of doing that, especially there in that second half. What a fun third quarter with Craig Porter Jr., Lonzo Ball, Dean Wade, Nae'Qwan Tomlin giving life to this team that needed it after a poor shooting first half. Thought they did a heck of a job on Kevin Durant. They held him to 6 of 18 from the field. Houston's attack came, a lot of those second chance points came off of offensive boards. And like you said, I know that this is a bugaboo for the Cavs. They have had their issues rebounding the basketball, but Houston does this to everybody. This is their identity. They lean into it. And as Kenny said, they had their identity. They knew their identity and stuck to it better than the Cavs stuck to their identity. So there's nothing I'm really too wrapped up in with this one tonight. I thought the Cavs competed their tails off, especially in that second half. Came down to a few turnovers at the end, some defensive miscommunications, as DeAndre Hunter said. So this one, I mean, it started off like it could be just an absolute rout. Cavs stuck in there, and it was a fun game. I enjoyed it, especially, honestly, the way that this game started too, man. Like, it was back and forth. I think it was 15-13 Cavs, and then the Rockets just kind of took over from there. And could go on and on about that Rockets team, man. They're fun to watch, and they're big and they're strong.
I mean, I think you have to appreciate, as a Cavs fan and any of the Cavs fans out there, the effort from this team to not quit. Because, like you said, that first quarter, it looked like it might get out of hand. I think I texted in our group chat as a joke, like, guys, this might get ugly tonight. And people, we were sort of joking around about it. But and then the first quarter happens, and I was like, I might have been right about this. And then for the Cavs to, like, I like the phrasing you use, kind of stand in there and hang in there and fight back. I mean, that third quarter was exactly what you want to see from a team that thinks they have championship aspirations, right? Like, hey, we're not out of this thing. And it wasn't even the stars in that quarter, doing it. Evan, I think, had 8 points in that quarter, so he was solid. But, like, it was Lonzo Ball. He had 7 points in that quarter, made 2 threes, which were huge for the Cavs at the time because they were shooting so poorly from outside at that point. Craig Porter scored 6 points, but he was doing a lot of good things on the defensive end, making life hard for guys. Kevin Durant even, like the way he defended him a few times down the floor. So like to see that effort, I think is an encouraging thing against a Rockets team that is really, really good. And I think a Rockets team, by the way, that is when you think about like the upper echelon of teams in the Western Conference, I think they probably belong in that conversation. They're certainly in that conversation from a standing standpoint right now. But like, yeah, I think the third quarter is the thing you look at is like, hey, I like the way they fought. I like the way they climbed back into this. And we got to keep in mind, obviously, too, for as lopsided as the game looked for long stretches, obviously the Cavs are still missing so many key players that probably impact the end result here and how that thing kind of comes down at the end of it at the wire. So I still, as disappointing, I think, as the result is, I keep going back to, I can't, we have to, we can only judge what we see. So yes, we're going to be critical at times to this team, but at the same time, there is so much room for this team to match a team like that down the line when they get back to full strength. I still have some concerns, and we'll talk about those. But like, you can't fully evaluate them until you know those guys are back on the floor.
Yeah, and it's hard to. Good news. Jalen Tyson sounded like he's really close. Kenny said that they might even try Friday right away. Darius Garland also 3-on-3, 4-on-4, a little bit of 5-on-5. So he's also really close. So sounds like they're going to get those two guys back by Friday, if not Sunday. So that's a good news for the Cavs on that front. But I think the standout, other than that third quarter I talked about too, Nae'Qwan Tomlin, just the energy he brings, the defensive pressure, the guy who's just always trying his hardest. He's always cutting there on the baseline. He's starting to not be bashful. He took 5 threes tonight. I know none of them went down, but in big spots, taking those shots, getting that experience in these moments on national television against all-stars, guarding guys like Jabari Smith Jr. and Kevin Durant and Sengun. He got in a scuffle with Jabari earlier, which I know Cavs fans have probably been starved to see somebody do something like that. Second straight game, by the way, that's happened. Last game, it was Thomas Bryant with Gary Trent Jr. Tonight, it was Nae'Qwan Tomlin and Jabari Smith. And there's an element of toughness. And, you know, there's so many people that want to toss out the S word all the time. I didn't see any of that tonight. I thought that they were pretty into it today. Jared Allen dunked over Sengun, and the dunk didn't count.
Called back, yeah.
And then, he got called for another play too. I can't remember which one it was. It was on the defensive end. But, I saw plenty of that. Oh, it was the isolation stop against Kevin Durant, which I was like, wow, that was one of the best defensive possessions that I've ever seen. But the story, I think, tonight, too, those first 3 quarters, Donovan Mitchell had a total of 7 attempts. In the fourth quarter, Donovan took, I think, 10 or 11 shots, something like that.
It was 10. He was 7 of 10.
Yeah, and it took him literally 6 minutes to become the team's leading scorer at that point. So if you want to know the tough kind of sledding it was for the Cavs offense, again, because of the free throws, because of the missed 3-pointers, that pretty much tells you right off the bat how it went. But Donovan tried to will him back in it. He had 2 straight threes to start off the fourth quarter, ended up getting to the basket. Overall tonight, I thought that Evan Mobley had a good shot profile. He was getting to the basket. He was driving past guys. A lot of attempts in the paint. It's more or less what I want to see from Evan Mobley, to be completely honest. The only thing that was bad with Mobley was that he missed the 6 free throws. I thought he did a pretty good job and held his own. It's not the right matchup for Evan when he's going against Sengun at the 4. Sengun shouldn't be playing the 4. Sengun is a 5. But the Rockets are a team that plays this jumbo lineup. And if you look all across, like some things that I think that, not enough people are talking about on Houston's end was how brilliant Amen Thompson was at point guard tonight. 1 turnover against a team that in the Cavs is aggressive as hell defensively, has a high turnover percentage. And Amen Thompson did a heck of a job of commandeering that offense in 40 minutes. It was a game high. Big ups to him, man. He's athletic. He can get boards. He can assist. He's so good, and the future's so bright for someone like that. But with this Rockets team, they just kind of have the Cavs number right now. They've lost the last 3 games. The Cavs have to Houston, and we know one of those was very, very ugly in Houston last year. Never gonna forget that game. I think the Cavs lost by 40, and then the game, I think it was a Saturday night last year that was a definite memorable one, but Sengun went off. It's just one of those teams that has the Cavs number, and I don't think it's anything like Cleveland's got so much to worry about. There are obviously things that we can talk about, but this is a really fun game tonight, and I think ultimately it was just on the losing end because of some free throws and some 3-pointers.
Yeah, I do think the physicality questions popped up in my mind in the first half. Like the way they were getting sort of out physicaled. I did think Evan largely held his own. He's always been great on the defensive end. You could tell he was really trying to hang in there with Sengun at times, and I think he did that to the best of his ability. Sometimes at some point, like it's a great player versus a great player. Sometimes one of the great players is just going to win, and that happens. I did think the physicality questions that pop up though for people, and it probably were being asked tonight. I think there was moments, especially in the first half, where that was valid. I think the second half, though, like we talked about, Spence, where that third quarter they battle back. They make it an interesting game. They cut it down to 4-70 to go into the fourth quarter. And then even in the fourth quarter, like you said, it came down to a few turnovers that you just couldn't, necessarily hang on to. That sort of cost you. But I look, like you said, the disappointing thing with Evans' performance is the free throw line. Other guys, the free throw line. Like if you make some more of those, it's an even closer game. Maybe you win the game. So I think that the details that sort of cost you in the end were more minute than just, well, they weren't tough enough and they weren't physical. But I do think some of that sort of showed itself early on, but they rallied, and I think that means something in the grand scheme of things. I did want to bring up, I thought Houston. You talked about Donovan Mitchell sort of coming alive in the fourth quarter to finish with 21 points. Like the way that Houston played him, I thought was really, really brilliant. They understand where this team is at right now with all the injuries they have. Where there's just they were basically like, Donovan, we're going to take you away, and we're going to make somebody else have to beat us. And to like a guy like Evan Mobley's credit, I think he was great, like you said, off ball today, where Donovan would find him cutting to the basket or out near the top of the key, where he could then drive to the basket and sort of do some of those things. I thought that was huge for him to be able to sort of do some of those things and handle the ball that way, more so off ball, and then getting it off of a pass or whatever it might be. But they blitzed Donovan though. Like they were constantly blitzing him, sending two guys out to the top, so he didn't really get a chance to get downhill and do some things that he does that contribute to his offensive game. And they were daring others to beat them. I think DeAndre Hunter proved like, hey, I'm willing and I'm able to step up and make some plays. He finished with a team high 25 points tonight. I think Evan in spots stepped up. You would have liked to see him knock down a few more free throws, but I think like you saw some of those guys, with Donovan sort of being taken away and with the limited offensive weapons that they have, trying to do their part. I think that was encouraging. But yeah, I thought it was really well done by Houston, the way that they defended Donovan Mitchell and just tried to basically say, we're not going to let you be the one that beats us.
Good strategy. Kenny talked about it too. That was the first thing he said. I was like, how does Donovan Mitchell have 7 field goal attempts going into the fourth quarter? He goes, blitzed him, got the ball out of his hands. And, at that point, then it's tough because you're asking a lot out of other guys to have to create and to have to score. And I know that this is professional basketball, but DeAndre Hunter hasn't really been a pick and roll ball handler the way he has this year. And he's still getting used to that. Evan Mobley, same thing, going to have some targets on his back. So it was good that he had, Lonzo in there. He had Craig in there. A couple things with, Tyrese Proctor as well. So I think putting those extra ball handlers out there was good for them as Three Doors Down starts to play in the background of this video.
I was going to say I could hear it. Just very
Hopefully
faintly.
we don't get dinged for this.
Just very faintly in the background, I could hear it. No, yeah, I think that's well said. Like they played Donovan really well, and I think other guys had to kind of create off of it. I will say, like DeAndre Hunter, if he can contribute, I don't know that it has to be 25 points every night, but if he can contribute with that type of regularity and consistency, and he's knocking down shots the way he was tonight, like once everyone's back healthy, that's the DeAndre Hunter that I talked about being like an X factor for this team and sort of a wild card for this team. So I was excited by that and encouraged by that because I think that's what you're hoping for from a player of his caliber that's fitting into a different role this year. But that I think is he was the missing piece for all these years, one of those two-way wing type players, and he played really well tonight. I think in the grand scheme of things, especially on the offensive end, and that's exactly what the Cavs are going to need from him.
You know what I liked about his night? 11 field goal attempts. You know what else I liked about his night? 8 free throw attempts. So he's putting it on the floor. He's trying to get to the basket, and he's also creating. A couple games ago he had 6 assists. This is a different type of position for DeAndre Hunter. And you know what else? Hunter played with some of the twos today, and we haven't seen that much before. So Kenny, he's kind of mixing up the rotation, seeing what kind of combinations work, as we've talked about all year. Here's another new one, Hunter playing with Lonzo and Craig, and Dean, which doesn't really usually play with those guys. Evan and Donovan being out at the same time or at different times, like Evan being on the floor without Donovan being on the floor without Evan. So still going through that process of finding who plays well with who. Again, I got to shout out Craig and Lonzo. I enjoy watching them play together so much. I did an article on them the other day. It's amazing how much they're turning over teams together. And Craig's been the most probably consistent player that the Cavs have had all year, honestly. This guy
Spence,
deserves to play.
You've been talking to Craig Porter for months now. So you know what? Get on your pedestal right now, and you say what you need to say about Craig Porter Jr.
Well, you know what, man? I'm happy for him. He closed out the game tonight. I think that's a big sign of approval from the coaching staff. And look, man, I mean, I know that some teams are going to be able to play against him in the half court because he's not that big of a guy. But man, when they're playing that up and down game, and he's there to push the break, to find his teammates. He had a beautiful transition pass to the corner to Dean Wade. He's got all sorts of pressure on ball handlers, 94 feet up the floor. Do you see how many rebounds he had tonight? He had 7 boards. This guy
I didn't even mention that.
He can't be bored. Look, I know he's listed at probably 6'3", 6'4". He's like 6'1", 6'2". He plays bigger than his size. He's tough as nails, and he deserves the kind of love that I think he should be getting from everybody around here because he's been outstanding. But I just love his dynamic with Lonzo. And you know what? I love his dynamic with Lonzo and Donovan at the same time. And that's one of their best lineups that they've thrown out there this year. And that 3 is usually out there with one of Wade or Allen or both. So if you look at net ratings, go ahead and check that out because that's very much so a positive for sure.
Yeah. Like I said, I know you've been talking about Craig Porter Jr. for a while now, and to see him sort of fit that find this role with the team. I'll say this, like on the broadcast at home, obviously you weren't able to hear this. There was an interesting comment made about how they sort of showed Fred VanVleet on the sideline on the bench, and they mentioned, that the Cavs are hoping Craig Porter Jr. can sort of find a role similar to what Fred VanVleet was for obviously initially the Raptors and now Houston, where like, hey, undrafted guy comes in, carves out a great role for himself in the NBA as like a 3-point, like a guy that can kind of do a little bit of everything, a Swiss Army knife guy, and can knock down some big shots for you at times. And I think tonight you saw like that there's some remnants of that. So I thought that was kind of a cool conversation that they had on the broadcast just about him in general as a player. So,
well, CP went to Wichita State too, man.
That's true.
So if you want to make comparisons, but no, I mean, I think that Craig and Fred are very different. I think Fred, he launches a lot more from beyond the arc. Craig's adding that to his game, and he's been terrific from the perimeter. But I feel like Craig is more of a probe, try to get to the paint, good at pocket passing, and I thought he got to the rim very well tonight. And that's a good sign for a team that's had trouble getting to the basket this season. So another area where Craig is really pushing the envelope. And I don't think they could have asked anything more from him. He had 2 blocks tonight too. This guy's a really good basketball player. He's a rotational player in the NBA. And I think it's about time people understand that. It's 16 games in, guys. Like, that's a large sample size enough to prove that he belongs. And I think he knows he belongs.
Spence feels validated. That's all that matters. I want to get to a few comments here. Our guy, Patagonia Bear, says, hey, I knew they were going to lose because Mitchell is 1-10 when guarded by Amen Thompson. I didn't actually know that coming into this game.
1-4-10, not 1-10. There's no way Amen Thompson's played Mitchell 11 times.
So, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I'm sorry. I sort of thought that I sort of took that as
record.
I guess a record, but yeah, that actually makes a lot more sense that it's 1-4-10. Sorry.
Yep. I'm telling you, man, that kid is athletic. He's long. He's strong. And I'll tell you what, when you watch him on both ends of the floor, just his lateral movements, the way that he kind of phases, is remarkable. And the Rockets have a future star on their team. He's already kind of getting there to me.
Yeah, I think that's very fair to say. He's a great player. Robbie Miller 3476 says, "What's up with the Cavs missing free throws? Is it more of a mental thing or a physical?" I mean, I don't know. Like free throws, I feel like are hard. And not like actually hard, but I think sometimes like guys just have years where they're off, and I think like Mobley this year has been brutal from the free throw line,
I think
and
he's
it's
under 60% now.
yeah, and it's like it's
It's
sometimes
crazy.
it's just like unexplainable. Like they get like the yips or something about it for a year, and then maybe they bounce back the year after that. I mean, LeBron's always been sort of like a streaky free throw shooter at times. So even the best player in the world has his moments, I guess.
That 12 for 12 performance from the free throw line seems like eons ago, doesn't it? Do you
Yeah,
remember
it
that?
does. I
He
do
did.
remember that.
He went 12 of 12, and it was big, right? Like, and since then, it's just been really, really tough. Now, I think a lot of people, I don't know, I don't say a lot of people. I should say this. Cavs, we're on their 5th game in 7 days, right? So I will say this. The free throws weren't short tonight. They weren't missing like front rim and stuff like that. The shots weren't missing front rim. So this could be completely off, but I think fatigue plays a part in that. You know, you got to get your legs under you. You got to be able to push off of your knees when you're shooting free throws. I don't know if it's part of it or not. Could just be bad free throw shooting, which is mental, which is absolutely mental. As I said at the beginning of the show, Mobley said he hasn't shot this bad free throw line since probably his high school days. So it's something that has to get fixed, though. But what tells me that he's trending in the right direction is those 10 free throw attempts. I'll tell you that. That means he's getting to the line because he's driving. He's catching driving, he's ISO driving, and getting closer to the basket, which, if you want to look for positives, trending in the right direction as far as that shot profile goes.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point because we've been talking about trying to get him and Donovan downhill at times, and I think it's good that he's obviously trying to do that, and I thought he did that really well tonight. Well, here we'll have one more comment, which I think you might have some better insight on than I probably do. How bad is Sam's hand injury? Did Kenny ever elaborate on that at all?
We did not get the answer to that. We didn't actually, I don't think anyone asked the question either. We saw Sam on the bench.
Yeah,
Fine, good spirits. He did
repping a
play
Utah
through.
State hat.
He did play through that sprained right wrist or sprained right hand, whatever the injury is, the other day, and burned the nets down. So I would assume, and that's probably adrenaline, but I would assume that it isn't anything catastrophic. I didn't see him wearing any sort of like splintering thing on it. So hopefully not bad, because it just seems like every time the Cavs get someone back, someone else is going on the, on the list. And this is just basketball gods, right? Last year, they were pretty much as healthy as could be. This year, it has been anything but that, Darius, Max, Jalen, we've had DeAndre Hunter miss games.
Yeah.
It's been tough sledding. It's been tough sledding. And that stuff matters. I don't care who you are. That stuff matters. So, and they're fighting through it, though. They're fighting through it. It's good that they're getting through this. They're 10-6 despite all this up and down stuff going on. And they've had a tough schedule. It's like Kenny said before the game. They played 15 games in 27 days. And forgive me if that sounds like it's bitching. It's not with the way that this game is played nowadays. Up and down, the pace, the intensity, how you're actually guarding players, using your knees and planting and all that stuff at a higher rate, a higher pace than the game has ever gone before. And other teams are picking up full court. You're going to have to sprint from one end to another, get a rebound, push. And then guess what? You get stolen from behind, and you got to go back the other end again. It's almost like turning into a track meet in basketball right now. And it's a trend. But 15 games in 27 days at that rate, at that intensity, I'm right with Kenny. I think it's garbage. I think they've got to figure something out with this scheduling and somehow take out those 3 and 4s, 2 different cities, all this stuff. I think it's very, very important to remedy that because you're not getting players at their best. I mean, just look at the injury list throughout the league right now. It is littered.
Yeah.
It is littered with hamstring injuries and hamstring strains and all sorts of stuff relating to that lower leg areas. You're telling me that they're just being soft? No, No, there's an actual problem here that they have to fix. And hey, I use the soft word. This isn't just with the Cavs. This is across the league. Wemby, Giannis with his groin injury. You got all sorts of Lillard in the playoffs last year, Halliburton. And then you start the year off, and you have all these guys who are having these problems in their lower leg and their lower Achilles area and calf. It's a big deal. So figure it out. Figure it out, NBA.
I was going to say, you're saying you're going on this rant. I appreciate the rant. I think there's a lot of people listening who are just like, Spence, you're soft. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Real soft.
They think you're soft
butter, baby.
No, I really hope that you bring up Wemby's name. I hope that he's okay by December 5th. That's all I'll say.
So do I, man. He makes one trip.
I want to see him in person.
Out here.
I want to see him in person.
I'll say this: I never take for granted the opportunity to watch KD hoop, and they did a heck of a job on him tonight defensively. But just that smooth stroke from about 10 to 12 feet, and that little fader, it's just the most beautiful looking jumper, man. He's one of the best of all time. I really enjoy watching him play basketball. I really do. And to that point too, honestly, Sengun, I know he gets away with some of those elbows. He hides it really well when he spins, but that baseline spin and the drop step that he can use after that, when he's faking one way, can go the other. He's quickly becoming one of the best in the NBA.
Yeah, thanks for rubbing it in, because I wish I would have been there tonight. I was excited to see this Rockets team in person as well. But when
shout out Aaron Holiday, too, by the way. No one's talking about Aaron Holiday. He had 18 tonight. That guy, I don't know how much that guy plays, but he was just killing the Cavs with those answers in the beginning of the fourth.
But when you have a sick kid at home, unfortunately, duty calls. So, but looking forward to being there with you on Friday, Spence. Obviously, good stuff tonight and recapping this one. Some concerning things, but also recognizing it's a team that is still sort of figuring out. And I think that's the big thing for me is, like, as we think big picture with this team, we've continually said it's not about how you play right now. It's about how you play in March and April and all those things. And if they're going to be going through some injuries now, but on the opposite end of that, you get a team that's healthy at the right time and peaking at the right time. I think that most Cavs fans would agree that that's what they're hoping for and looking for. So appreciate you guys hanging out with us for this conversation. We'll have plenty more for you this week. We'll reconnect again on Friday after the Pacers game and talk through some stuff then. So in the meantime, make sure you head on over and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. Join us here weekly with more conversations like this, and obviously our post-game press conferences and everything. You can also head on over to our website, CavsRoundtable.com. I have my sort of observations from the game up there, which covers a lot of what we just talked about here in this conversation, but check that out and much, much more over there as well. And as always, we appreciate you hanging out. So thanks for watching. We'll talk to you guys again later this week. Keep on following along, as always, with all things Cavaliers with Cavaliers Roundtable.